Hello everyone, welcome to SwitchUp. We've got another review for you today, this time of Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX, and this one was written for us by one of our writers, Rob. Thank you very much to you, Rob, much appreciated. 25 years since its original release on the PlayStation 1, the popular and critically acclaimed RPG monster battling game Monster Rancher and its sequel have been ported to the Nintendo Switch in a single package to give the current generation a taste of its breeding, training and turn-based monster battling gameplay. One of the big selling points of the games back then was just how you could acquire the monsters to subsequently battle, which was achieved by putting music CDs into your PlayStation. For example, if you had your dad's old David Bowie album laying about, or maybe even Green Day like the other cool kids, you could insert the music CD, which would then be scanned and monsters would be summoned from them using the disc's metadata. A workaround to this system has been implemented for the disc driverless Nintendo Switch, but will the solution breed success, or is it a monster failure? Thank you to the publishing team for the review code, and now let's find out. Gameplay is very similar for both Monster Rancher 1 and 2 titles. In short, you have just passed your monster breeder exam and you are assigned an assistant who helps you run the daily tasks of your journey, such as training, trips to the market or competing in tournaments. Monster Rancher is often compared to Pokemon, but it isn't really that similar. There isn't much of a story and there isn't a big adventure involved. Instead, Monster Rancher is more of a management fighting sim game. If it absolutely had to be compared to a Pokemon game, for me it would be more Pokemon Stadium as opposed to the classic Game Boy Pokemon adventure titles. Talking of Pokemon Stadium, let's discuss the focus of these titles being the combat. It's simple and at times frustrating, but also quite excellent when it's in full flow. Each monster has 5 basic statistics, being intelligence, power, defense, speed and life. As with all RPGs, the higher the stat, the better your monster will be in battle. Battle mechanics are implemented simply enough. You control your monster's movement or range from opponent using the shoulder buttons, and depending on your distance from the opponent, the attack is automatically chosen. For example, if you choose to attack from far away, the attack will be something like a venomous spit, whereas an attack close to the opponent will more likely be a melee style, and attacks can be changed using the left analog stick. It took me several battles to figure out how this all works, but once I had grasped it and put in a bit more practice, battles become much more enjoyable. The whole point and concept behind the game is to become a master monster breeder, trainer or champion. This is achieved by competing in tournaments of varying difficulty. I mentioned the stats of your monsters earlier, and aside from the battles, these can also be increased by sending them to a training camp. Think a boxer leading up to a fight, or another option is to put your monsters to work. Things like acting as a security guard or randomly pulling a cart around as you do. The monster will either perform well or it will fail the training or work activity, and either way you can praise or scold the monster for their performance. Be careful though, because spoiling them or scolding them too much will have adverse effects on their loyalty and their trust. If you scold them too often, the monster may even leave. Another aspect of the game that helps keep things interesting is the ability to breed or combine 2 of your monsters together to create a new, unique monster. You can freeze monsters that you are currently not using, but by combining frozen monsters you have the potential to create a truly powerful beast. There are nearly 40 main monster breeds, and combining these can create many more, and this obviously provides a lot of variety in the game. As I previously said, one of the main and most unique features of the Monster Rancher series back in the day was the in-game mechanic of being able to read your music CDs to summon different monsters off the back of it. Although this worked back when the titles were originally released, technology has progressed and CDs are just shiny confusing things to the youth of today, which then raises the question of how they keep the feature in the game without the use of an actual CD. The solution is a database of music CDs from that time. Although this is an okay solution, and don't get me wrong, it does work, I do feel this solution probably takes away the excitement of hunting for exotic monsters. I never played the originals, but I can imagine how much I would have enjoyed browsing through the CDs on the shelf, picking up albums from T-Rex or R.E.M, desperately trying to find an ultra rare monster. Instead, sitting and typing in the names of albums from a bygone era just seems so much more depressing. Also, for the younger audience who may not be familiar with a lot of the old artists included in the database, I can imagine the experience being somewhat frustrating. Who says that technological advances are good for society? In terms of quality of life features, it's good to see that there is the option to fast forward through battles should you wish, something that is always appreciated in a turn-based RPG for those battles that you just want to blitz through, and it's an absolute blessing when wanting to get through training cutscenes which can tend to drag. It's not overly clear though that this feature is present, being displayed as an FF icon that isn't touched on in the game itself. I did eventually work out though that it of course stood for fast forward. Gameplay holds up well, and although it has lost its most unique feature, the solution is at least workable if not ideal. It scores 17 out of 20. Controls are serviceable, although do feel rather clunky by this point in time, and they score 15 out of 20. When it comes to the visuals, this is probably where the most noticeable difference between the two titles comes into play. Things definitely look much smoother in the sequel instead of the 2D animated cutscenes of Monster Rancher 1. Monster Rancher 2 has clearer, nicely animated 3D cutscenes. As you would expect in a sequel, everything just seems more polished. For example, monster designs seem better, menu screens are clearer and make more sense. It's just an overall improvement on its predecessor in this regard. Monster Rancher isn't going to win any awards these days for its graphical style, and it is pretty much a straight port of the PlayStation 1 game, warts and all. But chances are you're not playing this title because of the graphics, and rather you are into the monster battling aspect of the game. These are decent looking games, with the stars of the show being the well crafted and imaginatively designed monsters. The second title does have those improvements such as animated training cutscenes, and the menus are well designed, and I played both titles in handheld mode and there wasn't an issue with text size, and on that note I also didn't come across any performance issues. In terms of the audio, it has a cheery air to it that fits the light-hearted theme and overall aesthetic very well. It isn't going to blow you away, but it's enough to keep you going through the game and brings a nice charm. When in battle, the sounds are engaging enough and appropriate to the on-screen action. Visuals look their age for sure, but they have that classic PS1 look, and the monsters are where things shine. The sequel is certainly an improvement in this area, and on balance, visuals get 15 out of 20. Audio also exudes a charm of a previous gaming era and suits the visuals well, and it also gets 15 out of 20. Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX cost £24.99 and regional equivalents are on your screen now. I enjoyed the gameplay and the ability to find unique monsters in some old artists' work, albeit with the replacement CD system. There is a good amount of content on offer, especially when you consider that this is of course a double pack, and I think the price of £25 is probably just about right with the simple and entertaining gameplay. I do suspect, like me, that most people will find themselves playing the sequel more just because it's that bit more polished, but it's nice to have both games on offer, even if, for all intents and purposes, they are effectively the same. Value gets 17 out of 20. To conclude, Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX hold up very well, and their re-release will no doubt delight fans of the originals and may well do enough to entice newcomers who have an affinity for such monster battling training games. They are different enough to more recent releases to be worth a try, even with the competition that's on the Switch, and whilst they have unfortunately lost their key selling point, it's still an interesting concept to try in its new form. £25 is perhaps a little steep, but the fact that 2 games are included does make this easier to swallow, and if the genre interests you, I'd recommend adding these to your playlist. Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX gets a SwitchUp score of 79%. Thank you everybody for watching, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. Another big thank you to Rob for writing this one for us. Is it a game that you'll be picking up? Do you remember it from back in the day? Has it held up as well as you would have hoped? What do you think of that replacement system for the CDs? A quick thank you to our Patreons, as always, for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.